The next video is the next installment for the wages system, and we're up to Bismarck and the German Working Men's Party. The English middle class press has lately been very silent about the atrocities committed by Bismarck and his understrappers against the members of the Social Democratic Working Men's Party in Germany. The only exception, to some extent, has been the Daily News. Formerly, when despotic governments abroad indulged in such vagaries at the expense of their subjects, the outcry was great indeed in the English dailies and weeklies. But here the oppressed parties are working men and proud of the name, and the press representatives of society of the upper tens suppress the facts and almost seem, by the obstinacy of their silence, to approve of them. What business, indeed, have working men with politics? Leave that to their betters. And then there is this other reason for the silence of the English press. It is very hard to attack Bismarck's Coercion Act and the way he carries it out, and in the same breath to defend Mr. Forster's coercion proceedings in Ireland. This is a very sore point and must not be touched. The middle-class press can scarcely be expected to point out itself how much the moral position of England in Europe and America has been lowered by the present government's action in Ireland. At every general election, the German Working Men's Party turned up with rapidly increasing numbers. At the last but one above 500,000, at the last one more than 600,000 votes fell to their candidates. Berlin elected 2, Elberfeld, Barmen 1, Breslau, Dresden 1 each. 10 seats were conquered in the face of the coalition of the government with the whole of the Liberal, Conservative and Catholic parties, in the face of the outcry created by the 2 attempts at shooting the Emperor, which all other parties agreed to make the Working Men's Party responsible for. Then Bismarck succeeded in passing an act by which social democracy was outlawed. The working men's newspapers, more than 50, were suppressed, their societies and clubs broken up, their funds seized, their meetings dissolved by the police, and to crown all, it was enacted that whole towns and districts might be proclaimed, just as in Ireland. But what even English coercion bills have never ventured upon in Ireland, Bismarck did in Germany. In every proclaimed district, the police received the right to expel any man whom it might be reasonably suspect of socialistic propaganda. Berlin was, of course, at once proclaimed, and hundreds with their families, thousands of people were expelled. For the Prussian police always expel men with families. The young unmarried men are generally let alone. To them, expulsion would be no great punishment. But to the heads of families it means, in most cases, a long career of misery, if not absolute ruin. Then Hamburg elected a working man member of Parliament, and was immediately proclaimed. The first batch of men expelled from Hamburg was about 100, with families amounting, besides, to more than 300. The Working Men's Party within 2 days found the means to provide for their travelling expenses and other immediate wants. Now Leipzig has also been proclaimed, and without any other pretext but that otherwise the government cannot break up the organisation of the party. The expulsions of the very first day number 33, mostly married men with families. 3 members of the German Parliament head the list. Perhaps Mr. Dillon will send them a letter of congratulation, considering that they are not yet quite so badly off as himself. But this is not all. The Working Men's Party, once being outlawed in due form, and deprived of all those political rights which other Germans are supposed to enjoy, the police can do with the individual members of that party just as they like. Under the pretext of searching for forbidden publications, their wives and daughters are subjected to the most indecent and brutal treatment. They themselves are arrested whenever it pleases the police, are remanded from week to week, and discharged only after having passed some months in prison. New offences, unknown to the criminal code, are invented by the police, and that code stretched beyond all possibility. And often enough the police finds magistrates and judges corrupt or fanatical enough to aid and abet them. Promotion is at this price. What this all comes to, the following astounding figures will show. In the year from October 1879 to October 1880, there were in Prussia alone, imprisoned for high treason, felony, insulting the Emperor, etc., not less than 1,108 persons, and for political libels, insulting Bismarck, or defying the government, etc., not less than 10,094 persons. 11,202 political prisoners. That beats even Mr. Forster's Irish exploits. And what has Bismarck attained with all his coercion? Just as much as Mr. Forster in Ireland. The Social Democratic Party is in as blooming a condition and possesses as firm an organisation as the Irish Land League. A few days ago there were elections for the Town Council of Mannheim. The Working Class Party nominated 16 candidates and carried them all by a majority of nearly 3-1. Again, Bebel, member of the German Parliament for Dresden, stood for representation of the Leipzig district in the Saxon Parliament. Bebel is himself a working man, a turner, and one of the best, if not the best, speaker in Germany. To frustrate his being elected, the government expelled all his committee. What was the result? That even with a limited suffrage, Bebel was carried by a strong majority. Thus Bismarck's coercion avails him nothing. On the contrary, it exasperates a people. Those to whom all legal means of asserting themselves are cut off will one fine morning take to illegal ones, and no one can blame them. How often have Mr. Gladstone and Mr. Forster proclaimed that doctrine, and how do they act now in Ireland? And that ends that instalment for the wages system.